Happy Thanksgiving. Happy holidays, everybody. I hope you guys all had a blessed time with you and your families and the ones closest to you. I'm going to go over the trade breakdown that rattled quite a bit of feathers and kind of made a lot of people confused as to why I took it, and the entire analysis top down on went through my head as to why I executed this trade live. It made me just shy of a little bit over almost $10,000. But this is what I took. This is the closure of both of the trades. I took it on a CFD funded next accounts that I could also swing trade on. But I'm going to go into the video. It is a Forever Model B rated setup. So if you guys are familiar with it, you'll understand. If you're not, ride along and understand what was going through my head during the time on Wednesday when I took this on NASDAQ longs. So let's hop right into the charts and get into it. All right, so starting off with a weekly perspective, we want to go top down just to understand how is price trading to, or what is price gravitating to on a higher time frame perspective. That's where we want to kind of get our foundation on the board, just so we have a general understanding as to what to look for throughout the week. Now, before I explain further beyond this, I want you guys to mark up the charts and see if you see what I see. Now, when I went into this new week, what was the first thing that I saw? I saw that we had an SMT divergence at these weekly external range lows. Right? We had lower lows on the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ and a higher low at that corresponding low from the 6th of October. Now, after we had this sort of SMT set in place at that external range low, we had the opening of this new week candle. Now, I'm going to replay price really quick. So if we have this in place and we're going into a new trading week, the new candle opening up on the new week is going to do what? It's going to open up and be between the weekly high and low of the previous week, right? That is kind of what we're working with. We had a pretty decent sized range the previous week. So understanding that the narrative as to how the next weekly candle could form, we don't really know yet. We kind of need to wait for more information for the sentiment as to how that next weekly candle is going to be. Open high, low, close, open low, high, close, all that sort of stuff. I didn't take a trade Monday or Tuesday. I took my first trade of the week on Wednesday. I had Monday and Tuesday give me a confirmation of the sentiment as to how price was going to be moving for the rest of that week, because it was a early trading week for me. I only traded or looked for trades 3 days that week, because Thursday was Thanksgiving and Friday we had that whole thing with CME data being closed overnight, and then the market had the weird gap. Friday just wasn't a day to trade. It was primarily Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So the only thing that we had to work with in this weekly time frame was this SMT set in here. And you obviously can see, based off of how the previous week candle closed, we ripped straight to previous weekly high. Now, this SMT set in here was all we kind of really needed for a step one, looking for a bias moving into the new week. We had no SMT at the highs from previous week. We only had that SMT at the lows. So price opened up lower to start the week and then continued higher, targeting previous weekly high on all three assets. So now we have that confirmed on that weekly time frame. Let's go to the daily and see what we're working with there. All right, moving on to a daily time frame. Now, we had this kind of failure swing set in above here on that previous weekly high from what I marked off. This is previous weekly high, previous weekly low on the three correlated assets, these horizontal lines. Now, is there anything to start off going into Monday that would give me an idea as to where price could potentially be moving to? We had a daily bearish fair value gap here on the Dow Jones, and we did have the S&P at the lows. So potentially you could have went into Monday looking for shorts. But again, I didn't take a trade Monday or Tuesday. So let's skip past Monday's daily candle. This was the closure on Monday, giving us a super strong sentiment on the NASDAQ. Am I right? We had the new week opening gap. We traded into it, and then we had price expand higher from there. Then we also had the Dow Jones. We had it inversing this daily bearish fair value gap here. Cool. We're getting more confirmation of like price is looking for something higher. Am I right? We also had the S&P 500. We had a closure above this down close candle on the daily, running the short-term low, closing above it. That's a daily bullish order block, right? So this is a daily bullish order block now, or in my opinion, a change in the saved delivery on the S&P 500 on a daily perspective with resting highs here that do not have SMT, which is the previous weekly high. Now, fast forward to Tuesday. Look at what happens on Tuesday. What do we do on the NASDAQ? Now, also the same thing. Short-term low here. Runs. We have a down close candle that closes above. That is a daily bullish order block now. Daily change in the saved delivery. And look at how close we are to the previous weekly high on the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones. Price is not looking like we are going to turn lower. We are inching closer and closer between previous weekly high and low, gravitating to the previous weekly high. So that was the sentiment as to where we could see price making its way to for this week of November to close off the monthly candle, gravitating towards that previous weekly high. I also am going to drop a screenshot of my analysis that I had that showcased everything. Like I literally mapped out this entire move. I created my trading plan and I traded my plan accordingly. That's exactly how you guys should be operating every single week. And you can even see price on the daily came down lower, tagged that daily bullish order block, traded higher. Again, I also did not take a trade on Tuesday, but we still had the draw on liquidity left in place on the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, and the Dow Jones. Fast forward to Wednesday. Look at how the daily candle printed. Reached the previous weekly high on all three assets. That was the objective for the week for me. Cleaned it all out. Now, how can we be a part of this move? How can we actually capitalize on this day on the NASDAQ, which is what I took my trade on? So let's look deeper inside of this daily candle to see what was my thought process, how did I get in this, and how did I actually make 10K this day. So let's drop down to the hourly chart and I'll show you it all. Now, this is just the hourly chart on the NASDAQ, blank, with just the SMT at the low and that previous weekly high. What does this look like? You guys can immediately tell me right now, you know what this is. This is just a simple market maker buy model. We have price creating an SMT divergence, signifying the smart money reversal at the external range low on that weekly time frame. With the Dow Jones, price then expands higher. Does what? Creates a smart money reversal to low risk buy. We have price impulsing, retracing into a breaker setup, resting here. Then we trade higher. We have accumulation right here on Monday. Then we have Tuesday come in. We have reaccumulation. And then we have Wednesday come in. Reaccumulation. These areas in price are just simple retracements to then buy. Retracement, buy, objective. Original consolidation, previous weekly high, hit. My capitalization on this trade was in here on Wednesday after I confirmed all of this sentiment and this being my final terminus objective point. So now we're going to focus on Wednesday and figure out what I did and how I hopped into this. All right, so hourly time frame going into Wednesday's trading day. What is something that we can note between the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, and the NASDAQ here? I even have the sessions marked off just because it can give you a hint there. So if you look, you can see, what did the S&P 500 do? Ran out Asia lows. What did the NASDAQ do? NASDAQ failed to run out the Asia lows. What does that create? That creates SMT divergence between the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. Am I right? SMT divergence confirms my protected lows and my protected highs. So once I saw this signature in price, I was like, all right, if we have an SMT down at those session lows, and we still have an objective above us, that previous weekly high, why would I not think that price would go higher from here, especially if we're creating some bullish structure and displacement? So let's fast forward a couple hourly candles just to see what I got further from this, because this is just like a little sentiment here, and we don't have equities open yet. So keep on going, fast forward a little bit. This hourly candle does this sort of damage here. So you can see right now, we have an SMT at the hourly candle lows here now from the 8 a.m. and the 9 a.m. hourly candle between the Dow Jones, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ. Now, continue another hourly candle. Look at what we do here. We have the Dow Jones showing its strength, tipping its hand with more SMT divergence, right? We have the 10 a.m. hourly candle coming in, running out the 9 a.m. hourly candle, and then displacing higher, just like this. So what I did was, once I saw this happen, I'm always somebody that is going to either wait for the 15-minute candle to print at 9:45 after the opening bell. I want the opening bell to come in, do some damage, and then I'll be able to understand. Maybe I can execute before 10 o'clock. If I don't get a good read, I'll wait for 10 to then confirm what is the direction going to be for the next 4-hour candle print. So that is what I did. I waited for this to come into play because I didn't want to be buying early so that I would be stopped out and then the move would happen after me. So let's go down and see what is going on inside of this hourly candle on the 5-minute time frame, just on the NASDAQ, and you guys will understand everything. All right, so 5-minute time frame. Here is 10 o'clock opening 5-minute candle. What does it do? It comes down and it creates the SMT divergence. Now, if you guys watched my how I execute my trades videos, you would know that from this signature here, you could already tell what I would be looking for, right? There is now a 5-minute bearish fair value gap here, right? And there is a down close candle that formed at 9:55 that did what? Ran a short-term low. That is my liquidity sweep here. And there is an IFVG setup potential and an order block setup potential. I have 2 of my signatures that I would need to get into a trade, right? So if I'm going to take a long, I would want to see price close above that 9:55 down close candle that would make my high probability bullish order block. So I want to see price trade higher. I want to see it inverse this 5-minute gap. I want to see it close above that down close candle, trade back into it, and then target that previous weekly high, just like that. So while I'm watching this live, I'm calling it out step by step in my Discord. Next 5-minute candle does this. We start kind of slow grinding, not doing anything yet. I'm waiting for my signature to print, and then I'm going to go in and attack, right? That is what we do. We don't assume, we react. Continue watching price. We're getting there. Next 5-minute candle, boom. Confirms our change in the state of delivery, confirms our order block. All I need to do from this point on is just put my limit in, put my stop in here, relatively close to the low. That gives me enough cushion to then have a 1 to 2 risk to reward directly at the highs, just like this. Because I know if price came down lower, stopped me out, it would invalidate the SMT divergence. So this is exactly what I called out. The next 5-minute candle comes down, tags me in, tags the inverse fair value gap, tags the order block. Next 5-minute candle digs a little bit deeper. It's okay. I'm protected. I have a good stop loss. I'm comfortable with my risk. Next 5-minute candle, boom. Good candle reaction right there. Then I told my Discord, I was like, cool, I want to see price run to this high. Then I'll reduce my risk to this M5 swing low if we take out that high. And then I also had a break even point, which was this corresponding high here. Drag that out. And then let's just see how the remainder of this trade goes, just so you guys can understand the logic and how I'm actually managing this position live in time. Next 5-minute candle, good reaction. Next 5-minute candle again, boom. At this point, reducing my risk to that M5 swing low. Continue. Next 5-minute candle, good. It's all right. 5-minute fair value gap, boom. We hit a break-even point at that high. So again, drop my risk. I got nothing on the table now. Whatever happens, happens. And then we end up smooth running, going to that high as I listed before. Now, I hope that was a good, clean, crisp explanation behind why I took this trade, how I took it, and everything that goes behind my process to executing the trade. And there is the execution with my entry and my exit. Simple, easy, and most repeatable, consistent strategy that anyone has ever released publicly. And if you do want to learn more, you can click the link in the description of this video. We still have our Black Friday sale going on. Again, this is the only sale we ever do for our Discord. Like literally every year, we'll always do this. But again, it's one time a year. So if you want to hop in, you can capitalize and see everything that we have to offer. But again, I hope you guys all had a blessed holiday. I hope you spent some quality time with your friends and family, and just keep on showing up every single day so that you can turn this dream of trading into a reality and take care of the ones that have been with you when you had nothing, because it's very rewarding. And that's how I feel right now, being able to bless all the people that I'm close with that have never turned their back on me when I was trying to do this in the trenches. And I know you guys feel the exact same way. But take care, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for watching the video, and I will see you again in the next upload. Take care, everybody. Deuces.